April 19th.
On April 19th, 1995.
In April 1995.
So I was in the newsroom when we learned that something had happened and turned on the TV.
Tammy Payne in the TV9 newsroom. If you are anywhere downtown, you probably heard it and felt it. An explosion of some kind downtown.
I just stared for like 10 minutes to realize I was a newspaper reporter and that I should probably go do something about that.
I called and woke a couple reporters up and mobilized a crew to head downtown to see what was happening.
I was sleeping, and my editor, Joy Mathis, had called my dorm. She said, I need you to get to the newsroom as soon as possible. There's been an explosion in downtown Oklahoma City. I'm not sure how much of that I must have, taken in because I fell back asleep. I didn't even wake up.
They were doing an OU Regents meeting that I was covering for the Daily, and I remember there was some activity and things got real quiet, and somebody was whispering to somebody else, and they announced during that meeting that something had happened in Oklahoma City.
But the physics computer lab is where I was at. I remember there was like a buzz, there's some kind of explosion.
We did walk to a first aid station that was really hauntingly empty. We thought surely it would be full, but what we didn't know at that time was the significant loss of life that had happened. It's hard to imagine that even a bomb could do that kind of devastation. And I called back and they said, you guys need to come back. We've sent more people. You need to come back and we'll start reporting. So we got a ride back to our car, which was significantly far away at this point. And we started driving home and we turned on the radio, and it was the first time Annette and I had heard that there was a daycare in the building.
The daycare center was in the direct path of the explosion. More than a dozen children were killed.
And that was really hard to know that children had been hurt or killed. Was really, really hard. We didn't talk. I remember just driving back, and I think we were both just in shock about what we'd just experienced. And I knew that my life had totally changed that day. I was very sheltered and naive, and this 20-year-old kid living at home, and became what I felt like was a grizzled journalist all in one morning and afternoon.
And Masood Kaji, who was one of our columnists, saying that he wanted to build a website for the paper, and is that okay?
Their audience is only going to be the campus tomorrow morning if it's just the print edition. If we could get this stuff on the internet, they could really shape the story.
So Joy gave me a different story, and my assignment was going out on campus and interviewing, just getting campus reaction. I remember seeing there was a television on the wall in the corner, and there were just, so many people gathered around it, just watching the news coverage, and, everybody's hands were to their mouths and just in, utter shock. And I ended up talking to a fellow President's Leadership class member who I recognized, and I, asked him, I'm like, what do you think about all this? And he said, well, I'm shocked like everyone else, and I wonder if it has anything to do with what's happened on this day in history, especially a couple years ago, because it was actually the second anniversary of the raid on the Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas.
I walked into our newsroom, which was very busy. All the professors had come in to help us that day. We had other people on campus coming in. They were starting our website at that point too with Masood, and it totally stopped when I walked in the door. It went completely quiet, and they said, Michelle, what was it like? And I opened my mouth to explain what it was like, and I just started crying.
I went back to the newsroom and just began telling Joy what I had, and I said, is there anything you think I should make any calls about this Branch Davidian thing. We ran with the story of the fact that there was a very good likelihood that whoever was behind the bombing was probably not of Middle Eastern descent, like everybody had jumped to.
But the one that really stood out to me was we talked to a family that where it was a Muslim family living downtown. And I think before, we knew about Timothy McVeigh, people thought it might be Muslim terrorists that were responsible for this. That was sort of the narrative in the beginning. And this Muslim family had been harassed, and there were people like knocking on their door and yelling, and they were kind of in this state. And the mother had a miscarriage from the stress of that.
In fact, as sad and shocking as it was most likely someone, an American, somebody someone from here who perpetrated the attack.
One thing I think the bombing unfortunately gave me was an early lesson in how much havoc can be wreaked by an angry, deluded individual.
And then, as counterintuitive as this sounds, we went to the Mont to celebrate.
I don't think any of us wanted to go home by ourselves, after the day we had just had. I think we all wanted to stay together a little while longer and kind of be in that moment. I think it was the one moment we had of celebration before it really sunk in the next day and the following days. I don't think we were doing any celebrating after that. I think that was the one moment where we were able to kind of be proud of our work.
We had put everything we had into informing the people in our community that day. We had taken care with their stories. We were taking care with each other. It was a team effort. We're so proud of ourselves. And yet, man, isn't it just tricky and complicated that journalists often do their best work when the people they aim to serve are having the worst time?
Thank you.